He was the voice of my faith. Now, I don't know what to believe. That was the response of a longtime fan after hearing the news. News that has sent shockwaves through the Christian music world. Michael Tait, the unmistakable voice behind DC Talk and frontman of the Newsboys, wasn't just a performer. For many, he was a spiritual anchor, a guide, a symbol of what Christian faith could sound like on youth group road trips, at missions rallies, and Sunday morning drives. He wasn't just in Christian music, he was Christian music. But now, everything has changed. Tait has gone silent. The reason behind that silence is that it is shaking the industry to its very core. A sweeping, years-long investigation has peeled back the curtain on what some insiders describe as Christian music's most carefully protected secret. The allegations. According to the Roy's report, Michael Tait is now facing serious allegations ranging from sexual assault and grooming to emotional manipulation and substance misuse. The investigation spanned 2.5 years and included over 50 interviews. The accounts, stretching over 2 decades, came from people who'd never met each other but told nearly identical stories. This isn't tabloid speculation. This is a reckoning. In January 2025, fans were eagerly anticipating the Newsboys' Canadian tour, a high-energy kickoff to the year, sponsored by Faith Live, one of the top Christian event organizers. But just days before the opening night, Tait posted a vague message on social media. He was stepping down for personal reasons. No interviews, no follow-ups, just silence. Faith Live swiftly canceled the tour. Their official statement cited a growing lack of transparency around Tait's departure. They didn't elaborate, but the implication was clear. Something was deeply wrong behind the scenes. Survivors speak out. The investigation reveals a disturbing pattern. Tait allegedly used his celebrity, charisma, and spiritual authority to target young men often in their early 20s, offering mentorship and spiritual guidance, only to exploit that trust. Stephen, then a 22-year-old guitarist touring with a Chris Sly band, described meeting his childhood hero in 2011. Tait showed a sudden interest in him, offering dinners, praise, and personal attention. One night, Stephen was invited to Tait's home. After several drinks, he passed out. He says he awoke to find Tait allegedly fondling and kissing him. When Stephen confided in his bandmates and girlfriend, the incident was dismissed as a joke. Humiliated and confused, he stayed silent. Years later, when other victims came forward, Stephen's former bandmates realized the truth and issued public apologies. They now back his account. Philip met Tait as a young worship musician and fan. Their relationship began with innocent mentorship. But during a winter visit to Tait's Nashville home, things changed. Tait gave him a back rub in a hot tub, then exposed himself and invited Philip into his bed. Though Philip was uncomfortable, he complied out of fear and confusion, only to be groped again. He turned Tait down and never heard from him again. Out of fear for his career and reputation, Philip stayed silent for nearly 20 years. He says the time for silence is over. Taylor, a touring crew member for Newsboys, described it as the most confusing and violating night of his life. On a tour bus that banned women overnight, but freely circulated alcohol, Taylor says Tait would often initiate unwanted physical contact, which he dismissed as friendly. But one night, after heavy drinking, he awoke to Tait allegedly rubbing his genitals. That same night, he says Tait offered him a drug commonly known as coke. Taylor declined, told his fiancée, and quietly distanced himself from the Christian music world. Today, he's speaking out. Why it took so long? Why did it take decades for these stories to come to light? Multiple sources point to one thing: fear. Fear of losing careers. Fear of being blacklisted. Fear of being labeled as attackers of a beloved Christian icon. Within the Christian music world, where fame and faith are tightly bound, speaking out is not just hard, it's often seen as betrayal. For survivors, accusing a spiritual leader is like questioning their own faith journey. That emotional burden kept them silent. Institutions, unwilling to face scandal, remained defensive, and so the silence persisted. The breaking point. Everything changed in January 2025, when a viral video indirectly exposed Tait's alleged misconduct. Though the video was criticized for its invasive approach, it cracked the decades-old wall of silence. The next day, Tait stepped down from Newsboys. In the weeks that followed, long-silent survivors began to share their stories. For them, this wasn't about rumor or gossip. It was personal, and it had cost them far too much. Industry response. The Newsboys have not directly addressed the allegations. Their attorney issued a statement dismissing the claims as unsubstantiated aspersions, calling it inappropriate to speculate on Tait's actions. Tait himself has not responded to repeated requests for comment. Faith Live, the ministry that canceled the tour, has issued vague statements without addressing the core issue. Meanwhile, Christian social media is ablaze split between heartbreak, prayer, anger, and demands for accountability. Beyond Michael Tait. But this story isn't just about Michael Tait. It's about what allowed, allegedly, one man to harm others for years without consequence. It's about the Christian music industry's entanglement with celebrity. It's about how power can disguise itself as anointing and how silence, fear, and misplaced loyalty can protect the platform instead of the vulnerable. As of now, no criminal charges have been filed. Legally, the process may be slow or silent. But in the public square and in the hearts of countless believers, the trial has already begun. A call to the church. The question now is no longer just what did Michael Tait do or not do. The real question is, will the Christian music world confront its shadows? Will ministries, fans, and faith leaders demand transparency, justice, and change? Or will the machine grind on, waiting for the outrage to fade and the silence to return? Because silence is what allowed this to happen in the first place. To the survivor. If you or someone you know has experienced abuse, manipulation, or misconduct in any ministry, music, or faith-based setting, please hear this. You are not alone. What happened to you matters. Your story deserves to be heard. Too many have been made to feel isolated, ashamed, or invisible in spaces that were supposed to be sacred and safe. Whether you've carried your story for years or are just now finding the words, know this. Speaking out is not a weakness. It is courage. And your voice, your truth, could be the spark that helps someone else find theirs. The time to break the silence is now.